Is Elizabeth Holmes' deep voice real or fake? That is the number one question that Bad Blood author John Carreyrou gets when it comes to Elizabeth Holmes and her infamous company, Theranos. There is a TV series coming out on the 3rd of March called The Dropout, and this is based on the podcast by ABC of the same name. Now, if you've never heard of John Carreyrou's book, Bad Blood, I highly recommend it because John Carreyrou actually was the person who broke the story in the Wall Street Journal about Theranos being basically a load of rubbish. It was fraud. It was her gambling with people's lives. She was telling everyone they had this amazing technology to literally take a pinprick of blood and be able to get hundreds of tests. She had partnerships with Walgreens, Bill and Hillary Clinton, Joe Biden, George Shultz, former secretaries of defense and statespeople. It was crazy. And the investors, she had Larry Ellison of Oracle. She had at one point Rupert Murdoch. Like, she had money and she had power, and people believed everything that her and her company were saying, along with her tyrant of a partner, Sunny Balwani. And you're probably thinking, do I mean business partner or do you mean romantic partner? Both. They were both. Even though she was literally just out of, well, she started the company when she was 19. She was in her 20s, and Balwani was way up there. And he got I mean, you know when they do people dirty in the movies, this is the opposite of this. He's being played by Nathan Andrews, and I don't know, like, do these come on, you're giving this guy a compliment and he's one of the worst people. I mean, she really was the creator of all this, but Sunny was her enforcer. And it's just the wildest of rides. If you know nothing about this, you're going to be blown away. And if you know a lot about it, you're going to be interested seeing who's playing all the people that we have learned so much about over these past few years, like Phyllis Gardner, Erica Chung, and Tyler Schultz. So let's get into watching the trailer, and I'm going to be like playing it and stopping and starting it to talk a little bit, and then I'll also be pointing out all of the characters, like who's playing each character and, you know, what I think about the casting and stuff. So let's get into it.
The world works in certain ways until a new great idea comes along and changes everything.
So we're at Stanford.
What if you just blood in your own home? And what if it wasn't a whole vial, but just a drop? I'm going to drop out to Stanford. This machine is going to change the world.
These kids don't overthink. They don't get bogged down about the way things...
Connor from Succession. So they've obviously gone back to Stanford here, and I'm guessing, like, it sounds as though her voice is normal here, because Phyllis Gardner, who she's played by Laurie Metcalf in this, and Phyllis Gardner is an extremely accomplished woman, and she knew from the beginning. She told Elizabeth, this isn't going to work, and she was one of the people who John Carreyrou, you know, used as a source, and she's a brilliant woman. She was her advisor, though, and she has known her obviously since university, and she said her voice was like that of a normal teenage girl when she was in school, and then obviously we all know now she has that very deep voice that most people believe is fake.
It's always been done. They want to change things now.
Together, we're making healthcare accessible to everyone in this country.
So Stephen Fry is playing Ian Gibbons, who was basically the main scientist at Theranos. Very accomplished as well.
I don't understand how you're doing this extremely complex chemical engineering with a high school degree. 10 years away. Your ideas?
So as I said before, Nathan Andrews is playing Sonny, so
Possible. So just keep trying.
that's Phyllis Gardner.
There's no try. That's Yoda.
Okay.
And if you have seen any interviews with Phyllis Gardner, it looks like Laurie Metcalf has completely nailed it. I really have enjoyed all of the... Anytime I see anything with Phyllis Gardner on an interview, she is no bullshit attitude, and she's pretty funny.
If you want this, you have to dedicate yourself. What are you willing to do to get it?
I can't give them one reason to doubt me.
It's not even close to working yet.
What are we gonna show at the demo?
We're going to tell them that we don't have a working prototype.
The interesting thing is her company wasn't always called Theranos. It was called Real Time Cures, and then she made Theranos from therapy and diagnosis, I think it was. So I think they probably just dropped that, and it does have the little Theranos sticker on it. But there's in all the articles and books and stuff, they talk a lot about these faked demos where they would literally, they would bring someone in to, like Joe Biden or higher up people, and they'd bring them into a room, and the Theranos box was like the size of a printer, and they would take a drop of blood and they would put it in the machine and make this big thing about, she was really, really obsessed with Steve Jobs and said she wanted it to be like the iPad of healthcare or the iPod of healthcare. And she made like touchscreens, so she would make it look like she's putting in all these, and then she would take them on a tour. And then when they would come back, she would be like, oh, here's your results. But really, they'd left the room and someone from the lab had like booked it in and booked it out and grabbed the vial and gone and done the tests on a bench like a regular chemist would. But obviously it's a tiny, tiny vial. So they were like diluting stuff and it was this whole mess. And then they were using other people's machines. I mean, obviously there's so much more to this, but they would just basically, they also talked about how they would, if the machine was basically broken or failing, instead of failing coming up on the screen, they would just get the the little spinner to crawl along and the bar fill up really slowly so that people who worked there would know, oh, it's actually broken, I need to go reset it, but it wouldn't show failed in front of the people they were showing. There was all these types of gimmicks to actually just basically lie and fraud people, because it's all about this, this whole making rubbish up, basically. It's all an illusion. So
Right?
Our Series B closed at 165 million.
Get the money!
she obviously was great at getting money, and I think that she is a good seller. I believe people either have that in them or not. And if you know how to sell, you can sell anything. It doesn't matter what it is.
I know what you did at the demo.
The demo was an inspiring step forward.
Don't tell anyone else. I'm going to protect you.
This is an inspiring step forward. This isn't just my job.
So that I definitely, I think most people really believe that the voice is fake. And there are some, even Phyllis Gardner has a bit of a deeper voice for a woman, and she's talked about that. But yeah, I think that she, I don't know, it's just so odd. I would never think to do that. But then also there are things I worked in the gambling industry for a long time, and I knew that there was certain ways for women to dress, it's a whole other thing with women in these sorts of industries. But that's why this story annoyed me so much, was because it's that we were rooting for you, we were all rooting for you, okay, she's an awful person and I was never rooting for her, but when she does things like this, it just makes us, it just infuriates me.
This is who I am. Anybody who doubts my company.
So William H. Macy is playing Richard Fuse, who coincidentally, I mean, he's a great accomplished doctor as well. And when Elizabeth was young, she lived next door to Fuse, and Fuse's wife and her mum were friends. And he basically, a lot of what he does is he files patents. The sublingual, things that you put on your under your tongue to take medication. He basically invented like the time release of that. And so he makes a lot of money from his inventions and patents and things. And when he heard about Theranos, he put in a patent basically for a device that would have to know a person's normal lab values so that they alert the doctor if they're abnormal. And Elizabeth took this as like a declaration of war. And Fuse was annoyed that Elizabeth hadn't come to him too, I think. And then they got into this whole big like lawsuit, and it kind of like ruined Fuse a bit. And his sons were involved as too, because his son is like a lawyer. And it was just a whole mess because Elizabeth at one time had David Boyce, who's probably the number one trial attorney in the US. So she had money and she had like the best lawyer, so she would just like send out an attack dog anytime someone tried to take her down or have issue with her. And Sam Waterston is playing George Shultz too, who is the former secretary and his grandson worked at Theranos, and Tyler Schultz, and was, along with Erica Chung, he was one of the people who exposed it, and he spoke to John Carreyrou and told him what was really going on. Erica was actually the whistleblower to the government and all that stuff, but the two of them are very much lauded as the two people who exposed this, and they were like 20 something, like pretty impressive.
Doubts me. You're CEO of $1 billion company. What do you...
Yeah, she used to have all these bodyguards and like bulletproof glass, and like Rupert Murdoch was like, why do you have all these bodyguards?
Her whole image is fake. We have to stop her. We haven't seen a single contract. She is lying to you. You're in over your head. You're going to lose everything.
No, I'm fine. Everything's fine.
You don't understand the business.
You don't understand the science.
There's people that used to say that she would like headbang in her car to like loud music and stuff, but this does seem as though what I really hope they don't do is be like this young impressionable girl that tried to girl boss her way into the world, and she just couldn't get her invention to work. Like she is not she is the villain of this piece. Like she was after money, power, basically the fame, money, fat, power and fame, trifecta for her. Sorry if everything shifted a little bit, my camera died. But what I was saying was I just really dislike whenever it's the female this, the female Steve Jobs, da 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 da. We don't want some special treatment. Like we just want to be successful and to do well, because you have these people that it always has to have this female designation. And it's like, have you ever heard anyone say, Mark Zuckerberg, the male CEO, or Travis Kalanick, the young man that I'm interviewing? Like nobody talks like that. And also things like this, like I have a little bit of a feeling this is where they're going with the trailer, but maybe it's just the trailer that's this way, that very women are so emotional and highly strung and all of that. And it's like, no, that's not the case. There are some emotional women, yes, but there's also some emotional men, and we're all just people. Like nobody has to make this big thing. And also you see here, like women can be awful too. Like Elizabeth Holmes is not a good person. Like all she cared about was money, power and fame and notoriety, and that was kind of it. And there's lots of stories about her when she's younger. You know, she didn't say, I want to change the world, I want to help people. She told her dad she wanted to be a billionaire. Like, that is a mindset she's had for a very long time. So let's finish the trailer and then closing thoughts.
Your company was endangering lives.
This is your dream, your story. People will trust the technology
Because they will trust you.
Overall thoughts is I was really excited to watch this anyway. As I said, I've followed this story since like way before anything was exposed, and I've been obsessed with it like forever. And so even the second I heard this was being done, I was excited about it. I didn't care if the trailer was a dumpster fire, I was gonna watch it. But the trailer actually looks really good. As I said, the only critique I have is I hope it isn't this whole like emotional woman thing, or I hope it is not the whole she really was trying to do a good thing. But knowing it's from the people who made The Dropout, like, they know the score, they know what's really going on, and they definitely weren't taken in by her. So I think that this is just for the trailer to kind of sensationalize it and to get people, because most people I'm sure have heard of it, and if they haven't, they're going to draw them in this way. The cast is just outstanding. I mean, that cast alone would make me watch anything. So I definitely foresee this being a really big thing. I also think between this and the WeWork one that's coming out based on a podcast too, We Crashed, those are going to be the two big things this year. I do have a WeWork like mega deep dive video on my second channel. I'll link it below in case anyone's interested in seeing it. I'm really excited about this coming out, and I am interested to see if like what they're going to do with the voice. I'm going to play a little clip here, and it's from Future Nostalgia. It was originally from a podcast. Just really, really listen to the first like 3 words, because it's like she catches herself, but you can, it sounds like a normal average woman in those first couple of words. I'll play it twice so you can really listen.
No, it hasn't. Well, if I use traditional words to describe what we're doing. No, it hasn't. Well, if I use traditional words to describe what we're doing.
It is interesting because, I mean, Phyllis Gardner, lots of people from her past have said, like, this is put on. I think we're going to see them kind of showing her training herself, or I'm sure that's what she's done, because it's quite hard to lower your register like that. So we'll definitely see a bit more of that in the miniseries. So I couldn't be more excited to see this coming out. As I said, I'm definitely going to be covering every episode on my channel, so make sure you're subscribed. I do have that really big, huge delve into WeWork on my second channel, linked below. If you enjoy this, and if you enjoy me covering the series, maybe now that everything is done with Elizabeth, when everything finally ends with Sunny's trial, I might do a mega deep dive into it. I did one before the trial, and I'll link that below as well. But now that everything is complete, I'd love to do a whole wrap up. So let me know if that's something you're interested in. I have a merch store, Patreon, and of course I have all my social medias. Make sure to follow me over there so that I can let you know when I'm posting the episodes. And I cover a bunch of other stuff on this channel. I will have some coming out about inventing Anna, who's another fraudster. So look out for those as well. And as always, make sure to stay safe, take care of yourselves, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye, guys.